6 of The Chosen does not ease us in gently. It throws us straight into the night that would change the world forever. Episode 1, titled Jesus' End, is not just the beginning of another season, it is the beginning of the end. It is the story of betrayal, silence, false accusations, and the kind of darkness that makes your heart heavy just thinking about it. This is the night when friends falter, enemies plot, and Jesus walks toward his destiny with unshakable resolve. It's not a story of defeat, but it will feel like one. And as you watch it unfold, you realize you are stepping into the most important 24 hours in all of human history. The episode begins in the shadows of Gethsemane, a place that feels almost alive with tension. The air is thick, heavy, as Jesus kneels and prays words that shake every believer to their core. Not my will, but yours be done. That moment, captured with such intensity, sets the stage for everything that follows. You can almost hear the pounding of his heart as he accepts the cup of suffering. But before his words can even fade, the footsteps of soldiers echo through the garden. Torches flicker, the quiet night explodes into chaos. Judas appears, leading the armed men straight to his teacher. And with a kiss, the betrayal is sealed forever. What strikes hardest is not just Judas's action, but the way Jesus looks at him. Not with rage, not with despair, but with sorrowful love. The disciples panic, swords flash in the night, but Jesus does not fight. He tells Peter to put his sword away. He heals the wounded servant's ear, showing compassion even as he is dragged away in chains. The garden that once held prayers now becomes the scene of an arrest, and the disciples scatter, terrified and confused. From here, the trial begins, not in some public court, but in the shadowy chambers of power. Jesus is brought before Annas, the former high priest who still pulls the strings behind the scenes. Annas questions him about his followers, about his teachings, trying to trap him with words, but Jesus refuses to play their game. He answers calmly, boldly, "I have spoken openly to the world. I always taught in synagogues or at the temple, where all the Jews come together. I said nothing in secret. That simple truth enrages his captors." One of the guards strikes him across the face, and the sound of that blow seems to hang in the air like thunder. You can almost feel the injustice burning through the screen. An innocent man, accused, beaten, humiliated for no crime at all. And yet Jesus remains silent, unshaken, carrying himself with a dignity that no chains can take away. The night only grows darker as he is dragged from one trial to another. Caiaphas and the Sanhedrin now stand ready to condemn him, but even here the lies can't agree. Witness after witness steps forward, their testimonies contradicting, falling apart under the weight of their own deceit. Frustration fills the room until finally Caiaphas asks the question that changes everything. "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One?" The room holds its breath, waiting. And Jesus answers with words that will echo through eternity. "I am. And you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One, and coming on the clouds of heaven the council erupts. To them, this is blasphemy. To us, it is the truth." And in that moment, his fate is sealed. They tear their robes, they shout accusations, and they spit their hatred. The decision is made. Jesus must die. But the story doesn't end here. While Jesus stands accused inside, outside in the courtyard, another drama unfolds. Peter, the one who swore he would never leave, finds himself cornered by questions. "Aren't you one of his followers?" the servant girl asks. Fear grips him. He denies it once, then twice, then a third time. And as the rooster crows, Peter remembers Jesus' warning. His heart shatters. He weeps bitterly in the shadows, realizing the weight of his weakness. The contrast is staggering. Jesus standing tall in truth, Peter crumbling in fear. Yet both are part of this night's story. Both reveal the frailty of man and the strength of the Son of God. As dawn approaches, the council knows they need more than just their own judgment. They cannot execute him themselves. They need Rome. So they prepare to send Jesus to Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, the only one with the authority to hand down a death sentence. And so, Episode 1 of The Chosen Season 6 ends not with resolution, but with escalation. The betrayal has happened, the trial has begun, the denials have been spoken, and the storm is only getting stronger. The episode leaves us standing on the edge of history, knowing the cross is near, but still feeling the crushing weight of suspense. Every moment is heavy with meaning, every word etched with power. And this is just the beginning. The second section of this story takes us deeper into the darkness of the night and straight into the halls of Roman power. Jesus, already beaten and mocked, is dragged before Pontius Pilate, the governor of Judea. Pilate is no stranger to tension. He rules a land where rebellion simmers under the surface, and every decision he makes could ignite chaos. The Jewish leaders present their case against Jesus, but their accusations are shaky at best. He claims to be king of the Jews, they argue, hoping this political charge will succeed where their false witnesses failed. Pilate looks at Jesus, searching for the threat in him, but what he sees is not a dangerous rebel. He sees a man calm, composed, almost regal, even in chains. So Pilate asks the question, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And Jesus answers simply, "You say so." Nothing more, nothing less. His words are not designed to escape punishment, nor to provoke Pilate. They are truth, spoken with quiet strength. Pilate, however, is caught in a web he cannot untangle. On one hand, he finds no crime in Jesus. On the other, he faces the relentless pressure of the religious leaders who demand death. To them, this is not just about one man, it is about control, power, and silencing a voice that challenges everything they stand for. Pilate knows the stakes. If he releases Jesus, he risks unrest. If he condemns him, he risks his own conscience. And so begins a political game played with a man's life on the line. To avoid making the final decision himself, Pilate sends Jesus to Herod Antipas, ruler of Galilee, who happens to be in Jerusalem at the time. Herod, curious and cruel, has long heard rumors of Jesus' miracles. When the prisoner is brought before him, Herod expects a show. He demands signs, wonders, anything that will entertain him. But Jesus stands in silence, refusing to perform like a spectacle for the king. The silence infuriates Herod. To him, Jesus is nothing more than a disappointment. Instead of seeing the truth, Herod mocks him, dresses him in a royal robe as a cruel joke, and sends him back to Pilate. The scene is chilling, an innocent man treated as a plaything, scorned by those in power who refuse to recognize the reality standing before them. Back in Pilate's court, the pressure mounts. The leaders stir the crowd into frenzy. Pilate, desperate to avoid responsibility, offers what he thinks is a way out. Every Passover, he releases one prisoner to the people. So he gives them a choice: Jesus of Nazareth or Barabbas, a known rebel and murderer. To Pilate, the choice seems obvious. Surely they will choose Jesus, the teacher who healed and spoke of love. But the crowd, stirred by hatred and manipulated by their leaders, cries out for Barabbas. "Release Barabbas! Crucify Jesus!" The governor is stunned. He pleads, "Why? What crime has he committed?" But reason no longer has a voice. The cries only grow louder. "Crucify him! Crucify him!" The tension is unbearable. Pilate knows Jesus is innocent, but he also knows the cost of defying the crowd. In one of the most haunting moments of history, Pilate takes a bowl of water and washes his hands before them all, declaring, "I am innocent of this man's blood. It is your responsibility." But washing his hands cannot wash away the guilt. Pilate gives the order. Jesus is to be flogged, mocked, and then crucified. And just like that, the governor of Judea hands over the Son of God to be killed, not because he was guilty, but because Pilate feared men more than he feared the truth. The brutality that follows is almost too much to bear. Jesus is stripped and tied to a post, and the Roman soldiers begin their cruel work. The scourging is not a light punishment. It is meant to break a man, to leave him unrecognizable. With every lash, the air fills with the sound of pain and cruelty. The soldiers mock him, spit on him, laugh at him. They twist thorns into a crown and press it into his head, blood running down his face as they sarcastically hail him as King of the Jews. To them, he is entertainment, another prisoner to humiliate. To us, it is the Son of God enduring unspeakable agony, carrying not just physical wounds, but the weight of humanity's sin. And yet, through it all, there is no bitterness in him, no curse upon his lips. His silence speaks louder than words. His endurance becomes a testimony. The very soldiers who mock him cannot see it yet, but history will never forget what they did. This is the moment when the world's darkness presses hardest against the light. And though the darkness seems overwhelming, you can feel that the story is not over. Every step, every blow, every word spoken in hatred is leading to something far greater, something no one in that moment can fully understand. Episode 1 leaves us here, in the midst of injustice, pain, and humiliation, but with the haunting sense that what looks like an end is, in truth, the beginning of redemption. As the episode moves forward, the weight of everything that has happened begins to settle, not only on Jesus but also on the people around him. The flogging has left him weak, his body broken, but the resolve in his eyes has not wavered. The soldiers, treating him as nothing more than a cruel spectacle, lead him through the streets. On his shoulders rests the cross, heavy and brutal, pressing down with every step. The crowd gathers, shouting, jeering, some in disbelief, others in anger. But in that sea of noise and chaos, there are also faces full of sorrow. Mary, his mother, who can hardly bear to watch her son stumble, and the disciples, scattered and fearful, watching from a distance. The path to Golgotha is not just a walk to execution, it is a journey marked by human cruelty and divine endurance. At one point, the weight becomes too much. Jesus collapses beneath the cross, the strength of his body finally giving way. The soldiers, impatient and merciless, grab a man from the crowd, Simon of Cyrene, and force him to carry the cross. Simon is reluctant at first, an unwilling participant in this march of suffering, but as he takes the burden from Jesus, something shifts. He looks into the eyes of the condemned man and sees not defeat, but love, resilience, and a kind of peace that defies understanding. That brief encounter changes Simon forever, reminding us that even in his weakest moment, Jesus continues to touch lives, to change hearts. The crowd's mockery grows louder as they reach the hill called Golgotha, the place of the skull. Here, the soldiers waste no time. They lay Jesus down on the wood and stretch out his hands. The sound of the hammer driving nails into flesh and bone pierces the air, a sound so sharp, so unforgettable, it seems to echo across centuries. Each strike is both an act of cruelty and a step closer to the moment of ultimate sacrifice. When the cross is lifted and set into place, the King of Heaven hangs between earth and sky, exposed to the world he came to save. Above his head, a sign is placed, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. To the soldiers, it is mockery. To Pilate, it is a way to irritate the leaders who demanded his death. But to us, it is truth. The king has taken his throne, though not as the world expected. The suffering does not end there. Crucifixion is designed to be slow, agonizing, unbearable. The crowd hurls insults. He saved others, but he can't save himself. Religious leaders scoff. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross. Even the criminals crucified beside him join in the mockery, until one of them, broken and repentant, pleads, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And in one of the most powerful moments of grace, Jesus answers, truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. Even in his agony, even as he hangs dying, he extends forgiveness, offering hope to a sinner on the edge of eternity. Meanwhile, at the foot of the cross, those who love him watch with hearts torn apart. Mary Magdalene, who once found freedom through his mercy, stands trembling in grief. John, the beloved disciple, refuses to leave, clinging to his teacher even in this darkest hour. And then there is his mother Mary, whose silent suffering cuts deeper than words could express. To her, this is not just the Savior, it is her child. Jesus, even in his pain, looks down and sees her. With words filled with compassion, he entrusts her to John. "Woman, here is your son," and to John, "Here is your mother." Even as he bears the sins of the world, he does not forget the personal, the intimate, the ones who need his care. The sky begins to darken. It is not simply the setting of the sun, but something far more terrifying. An unnatural shadow falls over the land, a cosmic sign that creation itself is groaning under the weight of what is happening. The mocking voices fade as fear spreads among the people. Something beyond human control is taking place, and even the hardest hearts sense it. For 3 hours, the world is shrouded in darkness. The silence is suffocating, broken only by the labored breaths of the dying. Then, out of that silence, Jesus cries out words that pierce like lightning. My God, why have you forsaken me?" It is a cry of desolation, of unimaginable pain, not just physical, but spiritual. In that moment, he bears the full weight of humanity's sin, experiencing the separation from God that sin creates. To those standing nearby, it may sound like despair, but to those who understand, it is the depth of his sacrifice. He has taken our place, our punishment, our burden. And though the heavens seem silent, his cry is not the end. It is part of the greatest story ever told. By now, the episode is almost unbearable in its intensity. Every word, every breath, every heartbeat draws us closer to the climax of all history. The soldiers continue their cruel task. The leaders stand convinced they have won. And yet beneath it all, there is a sense that what looks like defeat is something else entirely. This is not the end. It is the moment when everything begins to change. The final hours of Jesus on the cross unfold like a storm that refuses to pass. Darkness still covers the land, a sign that creation itself cannot bear to witness what is happening. The soldiers at the foot of the cross grow restless, dividing his clothes by casting lots, unaware that even their casual cruelty fulfills ancient prophecy. To them, he is just another execution, another man crushed by Rome's power. But this is different. This is not the defeat of a man. It is the surrender of a king who lays down his life willingly. As the crowd watches, some grow uneasy. The mockery begins to fade, replaced by a silence heavy with fear. The unnatural darkness weighs on everyone present. Mothers clutch their children, soldiers glance at each other with unease. Religious leaders who once shouted with confidence now feel the ground shift beneath them. Something greater than their schemes is unfolding before their very eyes. And then Jesus speaks again, words that are almost too tender to imagine in such a moment. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." In the face of brutality, he does not curse his killers. He does not plead for release. He asks for mercy, not for himself, but for those who hammer the nails, for those who spit in his face, for those who cry out for his death. It is forgiveness at its purest, offered in the very moment of suffering. To hear such words is to realize that this death is not a tragedy of injustice alone, but a victory of love that defies comprehension. Time passes slowly, each moment stretching into eternity. The physical pain of crucifixion is almost impossible to describe. The suffocating struggle for breath, the burning of torn flesh, the exhaustion that weighs on every muscle. Yet Jesus endures it all with a strength that can only come from above. Every second he hangs there, he bears the burden of the world's sin. Every heartbeat is another step toward the redemption of humanity. The world has never seen love expressed so completely, so painfully, so powerfully. Then, with the weight of the world upon him, Jesus speaks once more. His voice is faint but resolute. It is finished. These are not words of defeat. They are words of completion, of triumph. The mission for which he came, the salvation of mankind, has reached its decisive moment. With that declaration, the sacrifice is sealed. He has taken on the punishment that we deserved. The debt of sin has been paid in full. What looks like the end is in fact the greatest victory ever achieved. And then the final breath comes. Jesus cries out in a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." With that, he bows his head and gives up his life. The King of Heaven dies on a Roman cross. The earth cannot remain silent. In that instant, the ground trembles violently.